In this episode of the Awaken Podcast, we're talking about why you cannot change other people, whether it be friends or family or romantic partners or even colleagues. Every one of us are going to be navigating certain relationships in our lives where we can see someone's potential or we can see something that isn't serving them that we would love for them to change. And this dynamic can be really sticky to navigate. It can be a source of immense frustration for a lot of us. So what do we do instead? That's what we're going to be diving into in this conversation. This is one that I wish I'd heard 10 or 20 years ago. So we hope you enjoy it. We appreciate you being here. Let's dive in. Welcome to the Awaken Podcast,
where we share practical spirituality for modern living.
Join us as we dive deep into conversations about healing and transformation.
Let's go. What's up, everyone? Grateful
Welcome.
to be here for another conversation.
I'm very excited for this one.
Yeah, this is a juicy topic. So let's dive in. You know how we do it. If you're tuning in at home, you can close down your eyes for a moment. We're going to set our intentions and take a deep breath. What's your intentions for today's conversation, Hala?
My intention is for everyone listening to find something valuable for them in what we're going to share.
I love that. Yeah, I know a lot of people really struggle with this and it's a source of pain for so many people. So I'm with your intention. I hope people can find value and apply what resonates with them.
Mm-hmm. You know, with that intention in mind, I just want to launch right in and acknowledge that this whole conversation is going to be building upon a foundational teaching, which is what we call be love, be creative. And just then we set our intentions that we hope that all of you listening will gain something, receive some value from this. But a part of this teaching that I want to begin with is we actually can't control that. We cannot control if you get value or not. We cannot control if you enjoy this conversation or not. The best that we can do is show up and be in our own creative flow and speak truth. And the people that it resonates with, it's going to resonate with. And the people that it doesn't resonate with, that's okay too.
Yeah, well, Be Love, Be Creative came through one of our group coaching programs. So do you want to speak more into that and unpack it for the listener?
Yeah, so Be Love, Be Creative. Let's go even deeper with this. Last year in our coaching program that we were leading, I was doing live channeling on each of our calls. And when I'm doing live channeling, I will bring through spiritual teachings from our guides. And they can sound very simple, but the application of it is a little more complex. It's a little more advanced. So it takes some time to fully understand and integrate when these messages come through.
Yeah, it's one thing to know something. It's another thing to embody it and actually follow through with it and do it.
100%. The best way that I can explain this teaching is I'm sure every one of us in some way have had the experience of loving people in our lives and wanting the best for them. And we want to help them. We want to show up for them. And we want to use our creative energy to be of service, to make a difference. This teaching tells us that our role is to be love and to be creative, but this comes with nuance. We can only create for ourselves. We cannot create for other people. And vice versa, other people cannot create for us. Our role in other people's lives, in our highest expression, is to be love and let people be their own creator. Every single one of us have the opportunity in this lifetime to be a co-creator, to be an expression of that creative intelligence that I would call a higher power or the divine. We're all fractals of that get to have this beautiful human experience, and we get to create. Where we get out of balance or we start to go off path is when we use our creative energy to essentially control or micromanage other people. And in doing that, what we are perceiving, which is fueling this type of behavior, is that other people aren't capable of creating for themselves. And I would question whether that is love or not. Personally, for me, when I'm trying to control and micromanage other people, it's usually coming from fear.
Yeah, so this is where we get into codependent relationships, right? Where you're trying to manage someone or you're trying to control someone, not outwardly, not consciously. That's not your intention. You really want to support them. You want to help them move forward. Maybe they're struggling in a certain area and you see a solution. Your creative mind comes up with a solution or an idea and you can see it so clearly. If they were just to do this, everything would be different. So in that moment, you feel like you've got a solution, but you go to express that solution and it's rejected, or the person isn't open to it, or they're not ready to make a change in that area. And that can become really, really frustrating because you can see that their behavior is destructive, or on the flip side, you can see their potential and you want them to access their potential. But if they're not ready to change in that area, and you're trying to use your creative energy to support them, then it's actually working against you and it's working against them. Like you're not actually being of service to them because they perceive you as trying to control or micromanage them. So that's why they're pushing back. That's why they're resistant, because you're trying to control something that's ultimately outside of your control.
Exactly. I want to introduce another teaching that's come through from the guides that complements this one and I think can explain this dynamic that's unfolding. And it's called the third probability. So for all of us in this human experience, we have a tendency to go into binary thinking. It's right or it's wrong. It's this or it's that. I'm going to do it or you're going to do it. And when we think in binary terms, we can close ourselves off from the bigger picture, from why things might actually be unfolding the way that they are. And so if we think of that binary approach as, okay, this is the first probability, this is the second probability, it's either this or that, we're missing the third probability, which is, okay, actually, what if this is happening according to divine timing? What if this is happening according to divine order? And my projections are me assuming that I know what is right for this person. And the truth is, there are going to be situations in your life where it's black and white. It's so clear that what someone is doing is not serving them. But where this third probability comes in is to understand that sometimes hard lessons and struggle and destructive behavior are a part of someone's soul growth. So when we get out of thinking in the binary, it can assist us to opt out of this program that we need to fix things and make it happen. And it frees us up to actually hand it over to a higher intelligence to govern the journey of that soul.
Yeah, well, when you think it's your role to fix, save, or heal someone, you take on a huge responsibility and burden that is actually not yours to hold on to.
I can already anticipate that someone is going to be thinking, well, how do you discern the difference then between handing it over versus spiritual bypassing? So what would you say to that?
Yeah, what helps me with that is understanding the stages of change, to really know where someone's at on their own journey of creating change. Because if they're at stage one, which is pre-contemplation, then they're not open to making a change in their area. So if you're suggesting that, they're not even going to be open to what you're suggesting. So if you're aware of that, you can save yourself a lot of time and a lot of unnecessary suffering by recognizing that they're at stage one. They're not even ready to make a change yet.
And a part of this pre-contemplation stage is that they don't want to change. They don't have any interest in it. So when you come in and you try to be the hero and bring someone a solution, they're not asking. They're not looking for it. We all know that feeling when you get unsolicited advice and you're like, okay, thank you, but no thank you. Like, I don't want it.
Yeah, no one wants to be told what to do. It gets tricky though when you see a family member or someone you love on a really destructive path. And of course, you want to help, you want to support, you want them to make a change. You want the best for their well-being. But if they're not ready to make a change, then it's not going to happen.
And when someone's at the pre-contemplation stage, maybe the way that you be love is to allow them to become aware of something without pushing it on them. So, everyone has a point in their lives where they discover something new, right? Like, oh, I didn't know that you could eat that food. I didn't know you could do that thing. I didn't know about meditation. I didn't know about breathwork. And when someone puts that thing on your radar, you then ideally have freedom to feel into if that's something that you want to explore more. But when someone is pushing something on you and you don't even know about it and you're not interested, that's where it can almost feel like an energetic, emotional, mental, and even physical boundary violation. So we need to think about this not just from the perspective of not forcing things upon other people, but think about how that feels for yourself. Have you ever had the experience where someone tries to make you do something that you're not interested in and you're like, it doesn't resonate with me. Like, can you please not?
Yeah.
Because I don't want that.
Yeah, this is where the conversation gets really sensitive though, because I know people listening out here would have had the experience of dealing with people who have addiction, and there's a time and place for an intervention. That's where you can see that someone's choices are leading to a point of self-destruction. And at that point, different choices need to be made. But beyond that, which is more of an extreme case, this shows up in other ways in friendships and relationships, especially with family members. And when it's become codependent, it's unhealthy because the relationship has become more about managing the other person rather than allowing the person to take responsibility for their own life and their own choices. And I think in families, this is really, really common. And there can be secondary gains, right? Because the person who is managing the other person and taking control of the situation obviously gets to take charge. So that feels good. They get to do things and make progress. That feels good. They get the dopamine or the reward from getting things done, moving forward. But on the flip side, the shadow side of it, it also becomes really, really frustrating for the person who's in that managing role, who is taking responsibility for that other person and their choices. And it's really important to also acknowledge when you're doing that, you are stunting someone's growth.
Let's talk more about that. This is really important to understand because when you are in that codependent dynamic with someone, and I'm speaking from experience because I've been in it multiple times throughout my life, you feel like you don't have a choice. You feel like you're just doing what you have to do. And I remember how confronting and triggering it was for me to actually look at my behavior and the things that I was saying yes to again and again, where inside there was like this quiet but very real voice that was telling me, I don't want to say yes to this. I want to say no. Like you're violating my boundaries here. This doesn't feel aligned. This doesn't feel supportive, but yet feeling obligated to do it anyway and kind of tune out my own intuition and my own feelings and needs. And when you do that enough times, you can start to feel like it's your role to be that person. People expect you to do that. And if you don't do it, who will? And so you've lost faith often at that point in the other person's ability to create for themselves. And so the idea of be love, be creative can become very blurry and actually quite distorted, where you feel like being love is to do what that person is incapable of doing for themselves. But if you are willing to do some deeper looking, some deeper reflection and get really, really honest with yourself, you may find that what you've been telling yourself that this person can't do, that they're incapable of, they actually can do. And if they can't, there might be another solution or another outcome that needs to play out so that you can unplug.
Yeah, if you actually go deep and inquire on that pattern around micromanaging others or controlling others, even if it's coming from a good place, if you actually dig deep, you will recognize that often it's not coming from love. It's coming from fear. Fear of what will happen if I don't do this. Fear of that other person not being capable. Fear of the worst case scenario happening, or even the fear of not being useful of not being valuable, of not being loved yourself, right? Because if the dynamic has become codependent, a part of that is you get love through feeling valuable. You get love through taking control. You get love through doing.
That love that's received through the codependent dynamic isn't always coming from an external source. It's not necessarily that someone is saying how much they appreciate you or need you. Sometimes that love is just coming from within, where you allow yourself to feel worthy when you're showing up for someone else. You feel like that's giving you evidence that you're being effective, or you feel like you have a significant role in someone's life and that you're able to make a difference. And that can become like a safety blanket or a comfort zone for a lot of people. And to come full circle back to the stages of change and how we discern whether this is spiritual bypassing or really grounded in love and that teaching, be love, be creative. The other two stages of change that are worth noting are after pre-contemplation. It's contemplation, which is when someone's actually starting to consider making changes in their life. And then the preparation stage. So they're actually preparing to do something. And from there, you go into action, right? So at those stages, again, there are things that are loving and appropriate and supportive to someone's journey. But when it goes into projection or force or trying to take over, when someone is giving you feedback that they don't want your input, or they're not asking, or maybe they're changing the subject, or maybe they outright say, I'm not ready to do that yet. I'm still preparing. It's not time. This is nuanced, and it's going to require you to actually tune in, not only to yourself and what you want, but to tune in to where the other person is at and work your empathy. Because if you can't attune to another individual, you can't read where they're at. And if you aren't able to read where they're at, I would, again, full circle, suggest that you step back from trying to meddle in their journey, because you're probably not reading the situation correctly.
Yeah, I was talking to a client this morning, and they were talking about how they have a codependent relationship with a family member, and the family member doesn't drive, and they're having to drive the family member around everywhere. And they were saying that that's actually become really frustrating. Like, they don't want to play that role anymore.
They don't want to be the taxi.
They don't want to be the taxi. And sometimes you've just got to call it, right? You've got to say, I'm no longer willing to do this. And that's going to be uncomfortable if that's a role that you're used to playing. And then the other person is going to have to find another taxi, or they're going to have to step up and get a license and learn how to drive, right? If they're capable, if they're healthy, if that's something that they can do, but they've just been allowing fear to stop them or hold them back, then that's an opportunity for growth in that person's life in that specific area. But if you're always driving them round, then you're not supporting their soul's growth, because you're always playing that role. But as soon as you stop doing that, then they have an opportunity to either find another way or to step up and get their license, learn how to drive.
That's a really good, simple, everyday kind of life example. And again, I want to bring everyone back to the statement, be creative, because when you're doing things that you don't actually want to be doing, you're using your creative energy in a kind of wasteful way. So imagine if you actually start setting boundaries in your life when you are doing things that you don't want to be doing, what you free up in terms of your time and energy and attention and even your emotional bandwidth, right? Like when you feel frustrated or resentful or burdened, that lowers your vibration. When you say the no, when you have the hard conversation, when you reorganize your schedule and your commitments to align with what you actually want, it is amazing how much more energy starts to flow that you can then pour into the things that excite you.
Well, what I found from clients is they actually feel really guilty at first. And they struggle with that guilt because I've been playing this role, I've been doing this thing for this person, and now I'm really, really frustrated and I don't want to do it anymore. And then they set that boundary, but then the guilt comes in. And that's where it can be really helpful to reframe something, because when you feel guilty, you feel like you've done something bad, right? But what if you can actually reframe it as you're supporting that person's soul growth? Because if you carry on the pattern of doing this thing for that person, you don't give them the opportunity to learn and grow in that area.
Mm-hmm. The way that I describe this process is it's like a pendulum swing. So if you've been used to saying yes all the time to everything, even when deep down you want to say no, when you start practicing setting boundaries, your energy and behavior can go on a kind of pendulum swing all the way to the other extreme, where sometimes the way that you set the boundary doesn't come out quite right. So instead of being the full people pleaser that's like a doormat, you suddenly go all the way into the other extreme of being maybe a bit harsh, maybe a little bit snappy or a bit defensive. And you can experience the guilt or the kind of hangover that comes with, oh, wow, I didn't like how that felt. So it can go there, but also beyond the extremes, understand that you're doing something that you're not used to. So you're going outside of your comfort zone. And anytime that we do something new, it's going to feel different. And we may doubt ourselves in that process. I know I did. Every time I would set a boundary, I would have this moment of being like, was that okay? Was I rude? Was that fair? Am I being appropriate? Am I truly being guided by love? Was that mean? You know, I have these thoughts that would come up and I have to coach myself through that and hold a space. And sometimes the doubts keep replaying for hours. Sometimes it's a couple of days, but I've gotten better and better at one, being my own coach. And then number two, just turn to a practice. Like for me, it's Awaken breathwork and meditation. The moment that I experience that guilt or that self-doubt and rumination coming up, I sit down, I close my eyes, I do my breathwork, and I meet those feelings face on. So instead of allowing it to loop in the background, which many of us do, and it takes a lot of energy, go right into it. Just confront the feeling, confront the story, feel the guilt, and allow yourself to transmute it through that confrontation. So when I sit with guilt and I experience within myself, okay, you are telling yourself right now that you were really mean and you were a bitch and you were a bad person for setting that boundary and not doing that thing that that person wanted you to do.
I did something wrong.
Yeah, I'm bad. Okay, so then it's going more into the shame territory. Just feel this feeling and meet yourself right now in how this feels. And then through meeting myself, I then start to get curious about what I'm telling myself. Okay, so I'm going, oh, you're such a bad person. They're going to hate you. Like it can go so extreme. And then as you witness those thoughts, you can start to see through it. Like your wise inner self is present in that witnessing practice. And you can start to go, well, that's not true. I'm not a mean person. I didn't mean to cause harm. Is it true that I came from a good place? Is it true that in doing this, I'm loving me? Is it true that in doing this, I actually might be helping them long term, even though in the short term, they're pissed, they feel inconvenienced, they feel like I'm not being a good friend or partner or family member or whatever. And you just be with it all and then let your breath move that energy, and then you can move on with your day.
Well, that's a really good point, what you said, beyond moving the energy, recognizing that if someone has been relying on you and you make yourself unavailable for that thing, then they probably will resent you at first. And they're going to feel a type of way about it. Mm-hmm. But that's the process of renegotiating your reality. If showing up in that role no longer serves you and it's no longer in alignment, then that is the path. Mm-hmm. That is what you need to do, is set that boundary. And I know for a lot of people who have been in the fawn response, appeasing and people pleasing, this is really challenging because they avoid conflict. because it doesn't feel good in the body to be in this conflict of setting boundaries and speaking your truth and actually choosing yourself. But that is where the work is. And to your point, if it flips and you go more defensive and you go from the fawn response into the fight response, and you find yourself raising your voice or speaking in a way that you're not proud of, recognize that some part of you is perceiving a loss of power. A part of you feels like you're losing control in that moment. If you can pause, breathe, recognize how you're feeling in that moment, and then do what you said, bring it into your practice, because you don't have to stay there in that state of being dysregulated or being stressed or being overwhelmed. You can bring it to your practice and process it and move through it. And then you're going to be able to make more aligned choices in the way you speak and communicate. But that might just be a part of the process. Usually frustration, anger, these types of emotions come up when you've been playing a role for a really long time and you are just done. You're sick of it. And making that change might also lead you to have to acknowledge how you truly feel deep down, because maybe you haven't been really acknowledging how you feel. Maybe you have been self-abandoning. Maybe you haven't been taking responsibility for what feels right for you. Maybe you've been overriding your own intuition, like you said. And these are things that you're going to have to sit with in your practice and actually process and let go of.
Another really common situation I think that many people find themselves in is they imagine that they are more needed than they actually are. And this is where we give ourselves the burden. No one asked. And I have a specific example, right, with you and I, where there are situations that we've been in over the years where you think that you need to help me with something and you feel the sense of responsibility where you're like, okay, it's the right thing to do. I should help her with this and I've got to show up for her and be the motivator. And I didn't ask for that. And you feel the weight of responsibility on you to do that. But then when we actually communicate, you realize, I don't want that. In fact, that doesn't even motivate me. I want to connect to my own creative energy from within. Like I want to access that. And as coaches, we've also learned this. You know, when you're coaching someone, you realize that people actually don't change by being told what to do. There is nothing more powerful in a coaching session than asking someone the right question to draw the answer out of them. It is the ultimate unlock to come to your own conclusions, to find your own answers, and to decide that you want something for yourself. And every time we intrude or we interfere in that process and we try to save people time by giving them the answer or giving them this push, it actually slows down the process and it robs people of the feeling of, wow, I connected to that for myself. I'm doing what I want to do. And like, I really did that. I'm proud of myself. I feel stronger and I feel like I'm growing from within. It's like when someone becomes your crutch, but then in being the crutch, you don't get to feel like you're standing on your own 2 feet.
I think this is really common in relationships because as men, we're naturally wired to problem solve, but oftentimes you don't want me to problem solve for you. You just want me to love you and be with you and just hold the space. And you will come to your own conclusions and figure out what you need when you feel safe and you feel loved. And that's my job, is to love you. But I think most men often default to problem solving because it's how we're wired. And in our brains, it's the most logical solution. Like, okay, you're going through this problem right now. Here's this challenge that you're talking to me about. Okay, I'm going to help you by solving this problem. I'm going to come up with a solution. I'm going to help you with my own creative energy. I've got it. I know what you should do.
I will create for you.
But you're not wanting that.
Exactly.
So this is really helpful for any men listening to this conversation. If your partner is explaining a challenge or a problem that she's facing, maybe they don't want you to solve that problem in the moment and figure it out for them. Maybe they just want you to love them.
This applies truly to everybody because I go through this as a female where my masculine energy will go into the driver's seat and I'll go into that fixing mode and be like, don't worry, I know what to do. I've got the solution. I'll handle it. And I've done that so much throughout our relationship. And I've learned now, especially through this teaching, that it's not helpful. There are times, of course, there's nuance to this teaching, right? Where we ask for help. We ask for creative input. And that's the time to activate that. Like there are moments where I say to you, can you please coach me on this? Or can you please help me with this specific thing? Or I need a solution and I can't do it on my own, right? That is helpful. That's clear. That's dynamic co-creation. It's when we outsource our creative energy to someone else or we let them become that external source and we're like, okay, well, I guess if you want to do it for me, then I'll let you be the one that I rely on. Like, no, activate your own creative energy. And then if you genuinely need support, communicate that, ask for it, allow that to flow. But that then comes from love rather than outsourcing and reliance.
One of the things that helped us in our relationship earlier on with that was to check in with the person and ask, do you need practical advice or do you need emotional support?
Such a great question.
And then when you get the answer, you know exactly what to do.
It really helps to cut through and just ask for what you actually need. And by asking that question, you also invite the other person to pause and tune in to what's really going on and what would really be supportive. There are times where I'm venting and you will interpret that as I'm looking for an answer and a breakthrough. But what I actually just want is for you to be like, I hear you. I really get that. Yeah, you're going to get through this. You have got this. I believe in you. That's tough. Like that's challenging. I'm with you. Do you want a hug? What can I get you? Do you want to go for a walk? Do you want to get some fresh air? Like those things can help me to access my own creativity and clarity. And often it will get me back on track with connecting to what we call Wisdom FM much more quickly because I'm like, okay, I'm safe, I'm supported. And then I go, hello, remember who you are. Like you've got this. And I start going, actually, I think I could do this, or I think this is another way of seeing it. But what you might notice is that when you try to fix something for someone or help them see the truth really quickly, they fight you on it.
It doesn't work. Yeah, this is where you have to practice patience as well. Because if you can see the answers so clearly and it's so obvious and it's right in front of your face, you know by sharing that answer or that insight with that person, they're not even going to receive it in that moment. Because for you, what you actually want, your love language in that moment is physical touch.
And that's kind of what I'm in an unspoken way maybe asking for.
Yeah, your nervous system in that moment is saying, hey, I'm going through this challenge. My body doesn't feel safe right now. I need physical touch. I need love. And then when I give that to you, you feel safe and you can come up with your own ideas and creative solutions.
So a takeaway that everyone listening can begin practicing is next time you're in a conversation with someone and they're expressing a problem or a challenge that they're navigating, instead of trying to create the solution for them or push the clarity and the breakthrough, try on just being loving and see what happens.
Yeah, this is really profound when we're coaching someone. Because often as coaches, you can see the solution. You understand their patterns. The answer is right there in front of your face and it's so obvious, but it might be a blind spot to this person. But if you were just to give them the answer, like you're saying, it wouldn't stick. You're robbing that person of coming up with their own answers and their own clarity. So as coaches, we hold the space. We ask curious questions. We know the right questions to ask because a lot of the time we can already see the pattern and therefore the solution. But asking the right questions is key because that person then gets to reflect and tune into their own intuition and to their own body signal and have that breakthrough for themselves. And that's why coaching can be so powerful when you're working with the right person, because they allow you to come to your own answers and to connect to a higher level of clarity because they already see, they already are aware of it. And it's so powerful when those answers actually click and you get it and the penny drops and you're like, wow, okay, I can fully see this now. And if you can see it, then you can integrate it. And that's where energy starts to move and change can happen.
One of my favorite questions to ask people is, what do you need right now? And this could be in romantic partnership, it could be a friend, it could be a colleague, it could be family. When someone is, again, navigating a problem, a challenge, something that they're going through, being present and connecting to love, and then just simply asking, what do you need right now? That is such a powerful invitation for a person to reflect on how they're feeling and what they're needing, and they can then guide you in how you can be a stand for love for them. But they're creating the direction, they're creating the next step, they're guiding the map, rather than you being like, I hear you and I think you need this and I think this is what we should do, and taking away that opportunity for them to access that creative flow for themselves. Something else that is really, really important for anyone who's into inner work to get, it is not helpful for you to go into coaching people or psychoanalyzing them without consent or invitation. And I think this is one of the most common things that we hear with our clients is they're like, okay, I'm on this path and I'm in this relationship or I'm dating this person. And because we're both into inner work, they've started trying to kind of go into fixing me and coaching me, and they're analyzing me and they're telling me all these things that I need to work on. And it's really triggering, and it feels like 24/7 inner work where they're trying to get me to heal, and I just want to have space to be.
Yeah, a really common thing that women message me about is my husband is not into personal development and healing, and I'm on this journey of self-discovery. I'm working on myself, I'm growing, and he's not growing, and it's really frustrating. What should I do? And my response often is learn to love him as he is.
Yeah.
Like if he wants to change on his own terms, he will. You can't force him into that change, but you can lead by example, right? A big part of self-leadership is going first. What a privilege to know that you can go first, that you can be the one to inspire and motivate people by putting in the work and actually creating change in your life. And when they see the results that you get through showing up and doing the work, that might inspire them to want to make a change in their area, or it might not. But either way, you're leading by example, and the proof is in the results.
I'm so glad that you brought this up, because this is another key takeaway from this conversation. If you want to support someone to create change for the better in their lives, the best thing that you can do as a part of embodying love and being creative, accessing your own creative energy, is just get on with walking the talk. Get on with being the change that you wish to see in the world and in other people. And the more that you embody it and you shine, the more likely it is that you're going to actually inspire people, not through forcing it on them, not through pushing it, not through being like a preacher, but through embodiment that allows people the time and space to recognize your magnetism and your light and the ways that it's helping you, so that they can go, oh, I want a bit of that.
Yeah. And that can only come when you get results. And when you start actually making changes and other people can see those changes, they start to ask you questions about what you're doing and what changes you've made. And that can help people to step into stage 2 of the stages of change, which is contemplation. They see you getting the results, and now they're open to asking you questions, and therefore they're contemplating it for themselves. Is this something that I want to do? Do I want to make a change in this area? Because I can see this person that I love and care about, they're making changes, and I'm inspired or I'm motivated. And now I want to do something about it too.
The truth is, it's not going to unfold like that in every situation. There are going to be times where you step up, you lead the way, you're embodying the change, and the other person does not follow suit.
Yeah, you might outgrow that person. And that's just a part of your journey if that happens.
And also, you might just learn to love them unconditionally. For example, with friends or family, there have been times where I've wanted things to go in a certain direction with relationships in my life, and it hasn't. But my relationship with them has shifted. And I've realized that I don't need them to be any different. And the more that I surrender and love them as they are, the better the quality of our relationship actually is. So I think that's important to not be so attached to, oh, well, if I just focus on leading by example, then when are they going to follow suit? Like, when are they going to get inspired enough to do something about it? You got to let go. You got to surrender. And easier said than done, right? But the number one tool to help with surrender and forgiveness, in my opinion, is Awaken Breathwork. Jump into our app, do a journey, come to an event, because when you actually get to those root emotions where you feel responsible, you feel the pain of how much you love this person and you're attached to things going in a certain way, you can clear it. You can meet those parts of you that are scared and feel unsafe and bring love to them. And that's how you liberate yourself, not through any external change, doing it straight up from within. And it is amazing what happens in relationships when those deeper subconscious attachments or judgments or fears release.
Yeah.
Like, I have seen relationships that had so much strain and tension constantly completely shift because I let go. And when I let go, they started showing up in my life differently. And it's as if on a subconscious level, they felt loved.
Yeah.
They felt accepted. And in not feeling judged or made wrong, they actually started to feel like they had the capacity to reassess their choices from love. What would love do? Never felt that before. That is a whole new level of indirect leading by example and supporting people in their liberation.
So true. So true. One of the things we often say is, as I liberate myself, I give others permission to do the same. Often you find that that person who's been playing the caretaker role, people pleasing in the fawn response, who is starting to make changes now, may feel like they have to wait until that other person changes before they can make a change. And if you're experiencing that, we want to remind you that your power lives in connecting to your own creative energy and creating for yourself and connecting to your personal power and actually stepping up into self-leadership and making those changes now. And guaranteed, when you do that, you will experience the shift for yourself, and you will also become a permission slip for other people in your life to make that change if they want to on their own terms. But you're stepping into being a leader. And there is so much energy and power and confidence that you will find in that leadership role while being surrendered to not trying to change that other person. Like, you're showing up for you. You're doing it for you. You're choosing you because you recognize that you are worthy, that you matter, and it's time to honor yourself and what you want.
The dynamic that I have seen play out again and again and again in people in our community is with weight loss or body changes. It's so common for people to hold themselves at a certain stage of their journey because they're afraid of surpassing, let's say, their partner or their friend group. For example, if you have a couple and let's say they both want to lose weight, but one is just looping in the same behavior, the other partner may be like, I don't think it's safe for me to lose the weight and go all in on this journey if they're not going to do it by my side, because what will happen if I succeed and they don't? How will that make my partner feel? How will my friends respond if suddenly I'm the fit one, if I'm the one that wears certain clothes? This can apply to anything, but weight loss is a common area where we see it. I think it's so important to give yourself permission to be who you want to be. And don't let other people hold that key to your freedom. You've got to unlock that cage of limitation for yourself. Love yourself enough to know that when you create the life that you truly want, the right people will love you. And if you shining and you leading and you taking up more space triggers people along the way, those who are meant to remain in your life will be able to work through that. And if they can't, that's okay. That's a part of the journey. But I think one of the worst things that we can do is rob ourselves of the opportunity to be who we want to be because we feel like someone else needs to create first.
Yeah, 100%. You can't live for anyone else. You can only live the life that you came here to create. And if you're holding yourself back and you're dimming your own light, then there's an opportunity to look at that and to step into your power, which means there is going to have to be a renegotiation of your reality. You're going to have to choose you. You're going to have to honor you. You're going to have to put yourself first. And there might be people in your life that don't like that feel insecure, that feel triggered. Like it might not be around weight loss like you're talking about. It could be around finances or any area of your life where, let's just say you start earning more money and that person might become jealous of you or they might be insecure. This is not a stop sign for you to dim your light. This may be an opportunity for you to look at the people in your life and see if those people are compatible with where you're going. Because if people have become judgmental and jealous and are projecting toxic energy into your life, maybe they're not the people that you're meant to have around you in your life anymore. Maybe those friendships or those relationships have served a purpose and they're now coming to a completion.
Yeah.
Only you can decide what resonates with you based on your truth, but it's something to consider and it's something to look at, because when you let go of people who are not meant to be in your life because they're not aligned, you create the space for more aligned people to be in your life, people who can support you, people who do see you on that deeper level, people who do become your cheerleaders and you also become their cheerleaders. And there's a reciprocity of energy in these friendships and they become really, really valuable because together you spiral up. Together you break through to a next level. Together you motivate each other to be the best version of you. And those friendships are available to you. You are worthy of those friendships, but it starts by choosing you and honoring what you truly want.
Full yes. We're about to wrap up this conversation. And what I want to leave you all with is I'm thinking of J-Lo's old school lyrics. And I think this sums it up so well. In her Jenny from the Block song, she says, "Don't be fooled by the rocks that I got. I'm still Jenny from the block. Used to have a little, now I have a lot. No matter where I go, I know where I came from." To be love and to be creative does not mean that you dim your light or play small or try to prove to anyone that you're an old, outdated version of yourself. To be love and to be creative means that you hold on to the beautiful parts of yourself at every stage of your journey. You stay loving, you stay connected to your heart, you aren't superficial, you allow people to be who they are without creating unnecessary judgment or separation or righteousness. And when you allow yourself to rise to the highest heights and you love people unconditionally where they are, life has a way of keeping the right people around you and allowing those who are not aligned to go. As long as you know that you're staying true to yourself and you're leading with love, you're in alignment. And that, to me, is the ultimate goal.
We want to say a big thank you for every single one of you tuning in. We appreciate you being here. Let us know in the comments what has landed for you, what's resonating, and what you're going to take away and apply from this conversation.
Big love, everyone. See you on the next episode.
Peace.